continuation of the previous recording. Now we gotta link the two together and wait for it to render.
Build a segue. Right. There you go.
All right. So in this discussion, which you started out with your usual insight, did we get anywhere? Because in other words, you say the problem, what I thought I heard you say in the beginning was, well, no, religion is solved.
Religion is solved. But the issue is there's a failure, the improper splintering that occurred in the Enlightenment age, even probably at the Protestant Reformation. The splintering that occurred among the Christians has yet to be healed, and we have solved the problem between the classes with religion and science, and we've provided a solution for those people to solve the problems in the way they prefer across a multitude of states. So we're creating an avenue to release the pressure that exists to try to enforce everyone's will on everyone else, regardless of their preferences.
Yeah, I think that's an argument to the good, right? And I'm not sure that I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to go over and say, okay, are Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, or Buddhism as originally conceived religions, is Stoicism, which is really the culmination of Greek thought, but I'll put it as Stoicism, Epicureanism, Stoicism, and Aristotelian, Platonism, and Aristotelianism, is that a religion? And because they serve the same purposes. And why is, if we get to Hinduism, is that really religion, or do we just call it religion because it's closer to religion than philosophy? Or, and because they just call it as the way, right? They call it the way. Whereas in the Abrahamic religions, it's a religion. And in a lot of supernatural religion, it's clearly religion. But is our understanding of religion wrong?
No.
Are we looking at the saying, can we solve the problem of religion through a lens that's falsely positioning? Because we know what religion does. I mean, this is why I work so hard to science it. It's just overcoming alienation by providing, suppressing of, finding vehicles for limiting and suppressing aggression. There's implementing non-aggression and reducing frictions that arise from differences in perceptions, goals, morals, patterns, values, and whatever. So it's creating a standard of weights and measures and behavior that suppress anxiety, right? And especially anxiety that increases as alienation increases, the size of populations cooperating in political and trade orders increases. So, I mean, it's a necessary function. The suppression of alienation, suppression of neuroticism, suppression of anxiety and stress. It's a necessary function. But it's not clear that supernaturalism it makes any difference. So it's not clear at all.
I would argue that it doesn't matter.
It does or doesn't.
The only thing that matters is to program the intuitions for social integration. To allow the society to exist in a cooperative fashion on an ongoing basis.
So the problem is, what's the vehicle for doing that produces minimum, well, you would call it variation is the wrong word, minimum change in direction that becomes destructive. In other words, there's I'm trying to think of the term I'm looking for. Deviation is the best one I could say, where it maintains its purpose but doesn't deviate. In Buddhism, it starts out as a philosophy, but then they added all the supernatural crap onto it to make it yummy for people, right? But it was purely philosophical in the beginning. So Buddhism as a religion is not even practiced as a religion; it's practiced as a discipline, right? But the narrative that is excuses it or is sold or that justifies it is kind of silly, really. The narrative that justifies the Abrahamic religion is kind of absurd, um, but it works for us, right? I mean, it works. It functions enough. I understand that the objection that Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism are class structures. I understand that the Greek method of Stoicism, or you would think of what's above Stoicism, is Stoicism, Epicureanism, and now Epicureans are class structure, and then Christianity is the lower class. I understand that these are class structures, and that's because classes have different needs. Right? It's not like right, it's just and so I understand these things. But when I look at the future, I'm like, well, we've produced this thing, right? We've said it can serve as a class structure, either as a science, a philosophy, or as a religion. We've said that furthermore, if you have the Christian religion, since it's compatible with natural law, I mean, because it basically arose out of this Semitic teaching of the Aryan ethics to lower class people and women. I can understand that it's causal. Is this supernatural thing necessary? Well, you think not, right? You say it's not really necessary.
It's sufficient, however,
right?
And it's like it may be necessary in the absence of any alternative.
Right. The other thing is that it provides the Christian method or the Abrahamic religious context does provide social means of reinforcement. Like we don't think of, I mean, one of the things I thought Nietzsche was most insightful for is that the Greeks used the play as church, right?
Yes.
And they use the forum basically as church every day.
Yes.
And so these things provide social reinforcement. And that's what people need. They need external, the more feminine you are, the more you need external reinforcement. I mean, in some cases, I mean, the female mind needs external instruction because it's so needing of adaptation. So are we right that the natural law is enough? In other words, secular humanism, philosophical, and so I would consider my work, my approach to the world's sort of secular humanism, which is very Greek. I would consider it Christianity as a very humanistic religion, probably the most humanistic religion. But it's not secular; it's theological. Is it possible to make this all work together? Is it possible?
I'd say it's necessary. And I will say this because it goes like this: is the issue is if we were looking at that chart, which we're not, the class structures are demonstrated in that chart. Okay, and the issue is the institutions that build the society have to cross the class structures and have elites running them. But they have to be informed by stories that are built to the level of the population that they can absorb. And so it's like, they're not going to have a nerdy elite telling everybody how things are working without the stories. And the stories are pre-existing and they already are accepted. And they are recognizably ethical in their content. Mm-hmm. So it's like that those stories are necessary. And those means of transmission of information to inform the intuitions of everybody cannot come from the elite scientific only. So you have to build
So it
the
has to
logics,
be that.
languages, and grammars have to match the classes.
Unless you drag everybody to the bottom, Islam, it has to be what you're saying. Because it's clear that, I mean, the only people that have really gotten around this, the Japanese. They have ancestor worship and they have some tepid part of Buddhism in there, which really is, is questionable religion. I mean, the Chinese make fun of us for our religion because they think it's childlike, right? It's stupid. The only people who've gotten away are the Japanese. And everywhere that Islam touches dies. It's fucking cancer. But everywhere that Christianity teaches appears to work. And the poorer you are, the lower off you are on the spectrum, the better it works, which is fascinating to me. Now you take evangelical Christianity and put it in sub-Saharan Africa, and it fucking works like magic. And they make it their own way. It's certainly not Catholicism. It certainly is evangelical, jumping up and down, hoo-ha, singing, chanting Christianity. But I mean, it works like crazy. It works everywhere we take it. So Islam destroys everywhere they take it. They call it working, and I'm like, only if destroying civilization is and knowledge and understanding and progress is good for you. Christianity does not seem to be resistant to science and technology, as long as other than evolution. So we ended it. So did we get this one?
I think so, but you have to integrate the two videos now.
Yeah, let's just let them render, put them together inside of the freaking software and have them go. I can't believe there isn't a decent service on YouTube that allows you to do that. You can make clips on YouTube, but you can't just throw two things up there or three things up there. At least last I knew you can't, and have it tie them together. So every time I screw up, basically means I just added 2 hours of rendering time and burying my computer to make it happen. Thankfully, I have my other laptop I can throw it in. All right, so you're giving me that look of shut this thing up, I think.
Oh no, that's not what I'm giving you. I'm
Okay,
giving you the signal. It's time for me to say, hey, hit like, hit subscribe. Don't forget the notification button, and then tell us how well we did this great conversation and how well Curt rendered everything together.
All right. Are we stopping? What are we doing?
We'll stop talking about this one. Let's close this one up and have a conversation off camera.
Okay.